Shalom and welcome back. In this video, we are going to take a look at the Enneagram and the 9 different types that make up the Enneagram circle. The hope will be that you'll be able to see yourself mirrored in one of the types as we go forward. Now, we need to remember that the Enneagram is not a personality test. It is designed exclusively to help us recognize our false self and to help us face our darkness or our shadow side in order that we can recognize it and come out from under it into our true self. That being said, obviously the Enneagram just isn't an ordinary personality test, so we can't treat it as such. The easiest way to identify your type is not to look at the strengths of each type, but it's to look at the weaknesses, the sins, or the passions of each type. So on the screen before you, you see all the different weaknesses of the 9 different types. For the 1, it's anger. And since I'm a 1, I used to think, well, I was just Irish and I had an Irish temper. Lo and behold, no, I'm a 1. And the 2, their downfall really can be pride or false humility. The 3, it's deceit. The 4 is envy. The 5 is greed and stinginess. The 6 is fear. Type 7 is gluttony. And this gluttony isn't just with food, but it's with anything that the type 7 hyperfocuses on at the time. The 8 is lust and arrogance. And lust isn't really as much our English understanding of the word as it is the German understanding of the word, which means passions. And then 9 is inertia or laziness. So these are the weaknesses of the different types. And it really, as we look at these, we know that they'll lead to self-defeating behaviors. So recognizing them and coming out from under them is key in our spiritual journey. So the whole Enneagram is really designed, and it's been called the very face of God, because part of God can be recognized in each of the 9 types. And if we can look out at reality from these 9 pairs of eyes and honor each one, then we would look at reality through the compassion that God has for humanity, and it really will change the way we look at one another and the way we interact with one another. So often the Enneagram, our type, has been developed in us through the sins that can be understood as some kind of an emergency that happened when we were a young child. And it was a way of us coming to terms with our environment, a way for us to control it. Our childhood strategies of coping in our family of origin are often now sabotaging us in our adulthood. And that's the reason it's important to try to get a handle on our Enneagram and take a look at our shadow side so we can move out of them. Now, the Enneagram can be divided in a triad of head, heart, and gut. The heads are the 7, the 5, and the 6. These are self-preserving types. They're often plagued by a lot of anxiety. 5s try to gain more and more knowledge to overcome it. Phobic 6s, they link up with some kind of an authority figure or group. The counterphobic 6, they might take really foolish risks and try to overcome their fears. And the 7s, they deny at all that they have any pain, and they try to create fun and fantasy. The next are the heart types, and they are the social types, or the heart people. This is considered a feeling triad, but actually the 3s, the 4s, and the 2s are pretty out of touch with their own feelings, but they experience themselves in reaction to the feelings of others. So the 2s, they pose as lovable and there to help and care. The 3s, they play whatever role is going to work with the crowd that they happen to be in front of at the time. And the 4s, they want to appear as though they're someone special and authentic. Finally, the gut triad, the 8, 1, and 9, this is the type that often experience life as too much. It's kind of like a full body blow. And so they develop a characteristic defense of the 8, the 1, and the 9. 8s hit back, 9s back off and hide, and 1s try to fix it. So as we look at the head, heart, and gut types, that might help give you some understanding as well. So let's start with the 1s, and I can start by poking fun at myself. The 1s are the type that needs to be perfect. What this means is that an interior feeling of goodness or rightness. 1s are often the type that is longing for a moral and just world. They're often called the reformer or the moralist, the perfectionist. They can often have teaching roles or activist roles. They often can start a crusade for something. And if we were going to look at different images that would go with the 1, we would maybe choose a police car. For the morality police, we might choose, an older woman who's stuck in her ways and really wants things and people to be perfect. We might choose a knight who's fighting for right in the world. So the 1, in terms of their description and false belief, the 1 believes the world is an imperfect place and they need to work towards improving it. The 1s also believe that they must live life perfectly to be loved. They also have the need to be right. So, as we look at this little cartoon, we on the left, we see the daughter saying, "Look, Mom, this section should interest you." And it's a section on criticism. On the right-hand comic, we have the pirates talking about this other pirate, and they say, "Get a load of Mr. Perfect." Because oftentimes, 1s like to come across and portray a perfect image. So 2s are the type that come across as very, very caring people. They want to meet your needs. They want to nurture others. They have they believe that others must and will love me, and they do that. They demand that by taking care of others and trying to earn their love. They can also be called the pleasers, the altruist, or the lover. And some images that might go with this type are like a hospital, ambulance, or a mother with her child, perhaps a cozy teapot. Their description and their false belief is that 2s believe that people depend on their help, and they live because they are needed. They also are the type that gives to others without restraint, and they have to do this in order to be okay because they need to be needed. So some little humor for the 2s. The comic on the left, "Here he comes, Earl. Remember, be gentle but firm. We are absolutely positively not driving him south this winter." Pretty funny. And then the one on the right, "Despite his repeated efforts to explain things to her, Satan could never dissuade his mother from offering cookies and milk to the accursed." That would be a 2. So let's move on to the 3. The 3 really can be a chameleon. They change dependent upon the group that they may be in and who they're trying to impress. 3s are the ones that are the most disconnected from their own feelings, but they are very much connected to the feelings of the group or the audience that's in front of them. They are the achievers. They want to be the best communicator, the best motivator, the best role model. They are the status seekers. And if we drew some images that might represent the 3s, we might see the champion, that they would want the champion trophy. We might see a mask because they can change dependent upon who they're with. We might see Pinocchio because this type often tries to deceive others only in the sense that they want their image to be accepted. They want to be the very best. So the 3s believe that the world values a champion and they must avoid failure at all costs. 3s are achievers and they believe they must earn a place for themselves in the world through working hard. They need to succeed. So as we can see here, we have Ralph on the left, and he is the king of salespersons, and he's coming all the way to the North Pole to sell something to the Eskimos. And on the right, we have a salesperson as well who's saying, yes, but to take away the rodent droppings and, the occasional shard of glass, and you've still got a really fine product. 3s can often be salespeople. So the 4s are the ones that need to be special. They are the individualists, and they have a need to be special, to be seen as special. 4s are often artists. They can be the tragic victim. They can often be very melancholy. They can be seen as romantic, seeing the world in a romantic yet tragic, through a romantic yet tragic view. They often blame themselves for experiencing rejection and they consider themselves bad because of this rejection that they've had, and they've internalized that. And so they see themselves as a victim. If we were going to choose some images, it could be a piano for the artists. People, here they romanticize about life and love and maybe marriage and family. These are the dreamers. They really like to dream about what could be. The 4's description in false belief is that something is missing on the inside. They believe others have it, but they have been abandoned. And the 4s, they feel like they need to earn the right to be loved by being authentic and deeply feeling people. 4s have a need to be special. So as we look at these comics, that one is just a little too low to see, but the whole idea is that the person on the outside is saying, but I can't go inside. Someone is dressed just like me. And the 4 wouldn't be authentic or an individualist if someone was dressed like them. On the right-hand side, we have, yeah, Clem, I hurt, but it's a good kind of hurt, as he's bleeding and there's arrows everywhere. And that would be the 4. They find some kind of goodness in being melancholy and being hurt. So the 5s we see are the observer. The 5s like to be experts. They are the studiers. They like to wrap their hands around information, and they're often a an information overload all the time because they're continually taking in more and more and more information to try to control their world by being an expert and understanding things. If there was a picture for the fives, it would probably look a little like the maybe Eeyore, or maybe the Cowardly Lion. But you can see that the books that they'd read are how to make them the best, right? The description in the false belief of the five is that the world is invasive and I need my privacy to think and refuel my energies. The fives are observers. They believe that objective information, facts, will fill the inner void and make the world a safe place. They need to perceive. So as we look at the fives cartoons, we have on the left, I'll pay for them, and we'll call it your birthday present. And on the right, if you can read this, you're standing too close. And the woman said, he's not very sociable. Fives aren't very sociable. They find their meaning in their life in their own heads and often need to be pulled out in order to move forward into Christ-likeness. The sixes, they are the ones that value authority. They are the guardians, the doubters, the stalwart. They need to overcome their fear to move into Christ-likeness. If we were going to have some images, we might see sixes are the blockers. They're ready to fight and protect themselves. We might see a cowardly lion. We might see a turtle because sixes move very slowly through the world. The description of their false belief would be, the world is a threatening place, right? And you must always question authority because really nobody can be trusted. Sixes believe that they can earn love by being responsible, and they need security. So the seven, let's finish the sixes cartoon first. It says, Henry, our party is total chaos. No one knows what to eat, where to stand, what to do. Oh, thank God, here comes the border collie. The sixes keep the order. They help things moving in a very, they help people know their place. So if we move to type 7, we have the energizer, the enthusiast. We have the 7 who always brings a party with them. The need in the 7 is to avoid the pain, and they, at any cost, and they are really masters of denial. They will not admit, they will not own, or they will not participate in the dark side of everything. They like to keep everything light and fluffy, light and fluffy. If there were some images for a 7, it would be Tigger from Winnie the Pooh. It could be, Peter Pan, who never wanted to grow up. Life's a party all the time, ice cream and cake. So, in terms of a description in their false belief, the 7s believe the world is full of opportunity and options, and I look forward to the future. The 7 believe that they can earn love by making others happy, and that they need to avoid pain at all costs. So some comics for the 7. The one on the left says, gee, am I the only one here who's laughing on the outside and the inside? And then on the right, celibate. I said celibate, not celebrate. And here we have a priest who I guess was taking things a little too far as a 7. So the type 8 is the leader type. They're the protector, the maverick, the rock. They're the challenger. type 8s need to be against. That is their modus operandi. At a young age, they came to believe that the strong rule the world and the weak are oppressed. So they decided they were going to be strong and powerful. And what they do is they take God's work on themselves, trying to protect the vulnerable and defenseless as well, though. So some images that might work for the 8 are the Hulk, the shark, the knight, a hammer. I've known some 8s, and these describe them really well. 8s are often the boss. They believe the world is an unjust place, and often they do try to defend the innocent. 8s are also confronters, that they try to stay safe themselves by being powerful and controlling all the other types, and they need to be against. And here on the left, we see an 8 on a therapist's couch, giving him a piece of his mind. And then on the right, we have, mind your own business. This is how I like it. Even though the chair is like on his head. That would definitely be an 8. One of my children are an 8. And true story, he has gotten, so when he was in high school and elementary school, all through school, he got teachers fired all the time. I don't even know how he did it. It was like this awful superpower. Now, some of them deserved it, but he is definitely the challenger and the boss. He's currently one of the youngest managers at Microsoft, so there are good sides to being an 8 for sure. So the 9 is the peacemaker. They need peace. They try to reconcile people. They're the comforter. The 9s believe that everything is just a little too much, and so they shut off their feelings and they kind of check out. And their sin is really known as sloth or laziness, but it's really a description of their lack of focused energy. They have a very difficult time focusing their energy on anything, and they often will take the path of least resistance. 9s like to just go with the flow, hope that they're never noticed, and stay invisible. So, some images for the 9 might be, the sloths that we see there, or Horton the Who. I don't remember what that elephant is. Or maybe Baloo the bear from Jungle Book. The description and the false belief of the 9s are that my efforts won't matter, don't make waves, keep the peace. And that they believe that peace brings happiness, and their whole focus is to avoid conflict. So here we have our last 2 cartoons. On the left, fearing what awful environmental impact his every waking move might bring, Tim feels a moral obligation to stay in bed. And then on the right, hey, come on, hold it. Stop, or someone's going to get hurt. So, the 9s are peacemakers. So that kind of sums up the Enneagram's 9 types. I'd like to walk through the way the Enneagram types might look at Philippians 4:3, which is I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me. And this also gives us a kind of a clear picture of the different types. So a 1 would translate this as, I had better do all things right through Christ who convicts me, or things will go badly and I will convict others of what is right and wrong through Christ. That's the 1. The 2 might say, I will be a martyr and do all things as if I am Christ, so that others will love and accept me. The 3 might say, I can do all things. Christ can come along if he wants. That's the achiever. Type 4 might say, I can be in prison with you through Christ who strengthens me. Matter of fact, I will be in your prison for you because I am more wretched than you are. Type 5 might say, if I know all things about Christ, then I can hide behind it and someone else can do the things of Christ. I will tell them all about what I know of Christ. They live in their heads. And then type 6, I know what I'm supposed to do through Christ who strengthens me, but I am not sure if I trust it. Type 7, I can be happy through Christ who strengthens me, but don't ask me to be with you in prison like Christ does. That is too painful. I don't like pain. Type 8, I will make all things happen through my strength. Christ had better agree with me. And then 9, Christ can do all things. I'll wash his feet if they get dirty. So we need to keep both things in balance as we think about all of the different types. One is, remember, God is reflected out of each and every type of the Enneagram. No type of the Enneagram is better or worse than any others. They all just have different ways that they have decided to try to cope with life. We need to love everyone on all the 9 types. I love what Philip Yancey said. He said, Christians tend to get very angry toward others who sin differently than they do. Have you ever noticed that? That we judge and we want to condemn others who have different faults than we ourselves do. But Jesus said, let him without sin cast the first stone. So I'm going to end with that thought. I hope that this was helpful for you to understand your own type better and maybe understand some people that you know and love who may be in the other types. So until next time, shalom.